This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on 14 August 2021. This week, we're going to look back real quick at a couple things that we've covered previously but have expounded. So, if you recall, we talked about the city of Joplin, Missouri, episode 2 or 3 back. I can't remember exactly, but it looks like they paid the ransomware demand. The insurer for Joplin paid $320,000 US to an unknown person after a ransomware attack of the city government computer systems last month, according to the city manager. It seems like the money was paid in order to keep sensitive information accessed by this attacker or hacker from being exposed. Investigations into who is responsible for the attack and what information was accessed are still ongoing. The computer systems and programs that operated the city's online services were closed down on the 7th of July. That's just a reminder for everybody. Joplin's internet-based telephone system was restored 2 days later. A cybersecurity company that was hired to help restore services has almost finally completed the work just over a month later. Items that have resumed normal operations include the city's COVID-19 dashboard, the online utility payments and court functions, but services such as birth and death certificates and GIS systems are not yet available. So this just shows that when you are left with a ransomware attack and you're the decision maker, cost of doing business is what it comes down to. Can you restore your functions? Can you keep your assets secure from further disclosure, I guess? And can you get your systems back up online? The people of the city of Joplin have been without certain services now for over 30 days because of one computer incident. So, in this story, we all remember the Windows print spooler vulnerability that came out. Well, there's a new one, and that can now be found in CVE 2021-3695-8, if you're so inclined to go read the technical details. This is an out-of-band warning, and is paired with a working proof of concept exploit for the issue, circulating since mid-July and within certain ransomware attacks. So, yet again, something else that we have to worry about. One day after dropping its scheduled August Patch Tuesday update, Microsoft issued a warning again for an unpatched privilege escalation remote code execution vulnerability in the Windows print spooler service. This one can be filed under the PrintNightmare umbrella. Isn't that a lovely title? Just where does this new 0-day, or at least fresh 0-day, fall on the vulnerability severity scale? Well, on the CVSS scale, it's a rating of 7.3 out of 10. So take that for what that's worth. According to the scale itself, though, it means important. The good and the bad of this particular attack is that it allows for a local attack vector requiring user interaction. So someone or yourself being tricked into has to do something to make this exploit happen. However, the attack overall's complexity is exceptionally low, so the barrier to being used is not one that's going to be hard to get across. So what do we do? How do we protect our system from the suite of PrintNightmare attacks? Well, there's no patch yet. So we have one wonderful option. You can protect yourself by simply stopping and disabling the print spooler service. So The Poly Network cross-chain interoperability protocol was hacked this past week. And in doing so, it allowed a threat actor to steal over $600 million worth of cryptocurrency assets. However, either guilt, threat, whatever, the hacker is going to return it in an odd situation. The true reason or factual reason, that may be a better way to say it, on why the hacker is returning it is still not really known. However, it looks like SlowMist, a blockchain security firm, has claimed that it can trace this particular attacker's email address, IP address, and device fingerprint. So, if that's true, then this guy's already had and is just trying to not have them disclose who he is so that he doesn't have to actually deal with legal ramifications. That's a good motivation to give money back, I would think. SlowMist also discovered in this that some of the other crypto assets used to fund the attack were Monero, and that Monero, those Monero assets were exchanged then into other cryptocurrencies. Symbols are BNB, Ethereum, Matic, and several other tokens, right? By tokens, they were most likely all Ethereum-based tokens. And if you're not in the cryptocurrency world or understand what the difference with that is, leave me some feedback. Maybe we can do a fuller episode on cryptocurrency to help give like a 101 for everyone. So, anyone here at DEF CON? Not the Department of Defense's DEF CON scale, but the hacker conference DEF CON. Well, that just passed. And at the conference, Internet of Things hardware random number generators were shown to have weaknesses. A critical vulnerability has been disclosed in a hardware random number generator used by billions of IoT devices, whereby it fails to properly generate random numbers, undermining the security of the systems and putting all of them at risk. What Bishop Fox researchers found out is that in many cases, these IoT devices, or most IoT devices, or many, depending on what you want to consider the slice here, are not really choosing random numbers, or not really random numbers when it comes to what they're doing for encryption. Many devices are choosing encryption keys of 0 or worse, and this can lead to a catastrophic collapse of security for anything that is upstream from the device. And part of the problem here is that these devices are using a random number generator that's on the system on a chip, and they are creating the entropy for these items out of whatever it can process, right? Whatever the chip is designed to process, the multiple factors trying to create entropy. However, they can only go so far, right? These are not supercomputers. So they're only capable of producing so many bits per second. And if you're trying to call the random number generator function when it doesn't have any random numbers to give you, it fails out and returns an error code. And that's when the device tries to get, it's when if the device tries to get too many random numbers too fast, or too quickly, that's when all the calls will start to collapse on themselves and fail, and that's when you get the vulnerability to happen. Now, part of this can be fixed very easily in software. And this problem, while not unique to IoT devices, is far more prevalent and likely in IoT devices than in bigger, more general use compute platforms, just because of certain API calls that those platforms already employ and most IoT devices don't. So updates and a little more space, I guess, to store whatever the operating system is that these things need, and we should be right as rain. and they'll be more expensive to boot. So something that we talk about in my class is phishing. It's in one of the earliest modules in the class as an example of something to know that's out there and that could cause you a significant problem as an attack vector. Well, the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, this week warned of a phishing campaign targeting victims' unemployment insurance benefits and personally identifiable information. Nothing like kicking people when they're down. Malicious text messages or SMS messages claim that the victim must make the necessary corrections to their unemployment insurance claim, verify the personal information, or reactivate their unemployed insurance benefits account. The text that is sent to these people by the malicious actors includes a link that redirects to a fake state workforce agency website. And this is where victims are asked to enter in site credentials and personal data such as a social security number. So the long short of this is it's identity theft that's occurring here. And because these people on the majority or almost exclusively are in a bad spot already, they're likely to be more concerned and afraid to do what they think they're being told to do as quickly as possible to keep that emergency flow of funding coming. That's really disappointing. One message, for example, stated, quote, "The Department of Labor has noticed some discrepancies in your unemployment claim profile." And it included the link to make the necessary corrections. Yet another stated, "Action required. Your driver's license required to meet with our new regulation and compliance update is not on file." And it provided a link to enter in the data for a person's driver's license. Officials are advising from the FTC that people who think they may have entered personal information into a fraudulent website visit identitytheft.gov. And this is where they can learn how to make it more difficult for a thief to misuse their data. However, if a person has done that, that is not the only thing they should do. I teach this in my class. You should also go to authorities, right? The local police might be able to help you inform the state unemployment insurance office of the activity, etc., etc. Otherwise, you may never get your benefits again. And already worse, your information is in the wind, and now you have to deal with that while you're still trying to get back on your feet. And finally, Pegasus spyware. I'm sure if you're in the cybersecurity community, you have heard about it. So let's talk a little bit about where things are right now. Now, it's a little loaded of me to use the term spyware when we're talking about a commercial product, but there's really no better term for it except for maybe a surveillance product, right? That's really what this is, and it's made by the NSO Group, which is an Israeli technology firm. What Pegasus allows its customers to do, of which NSO claims the only people that are able to purchase this software are governments, is it allows the customer, the government, to stealthily enter a smartphone and gain access to everything. This includes the camera, the microphone, all the data, right? It's designed to infiltrate every mobile device platform, or at least every major one. We're talking Android devices, BlackBerry for those of you that still have them, iOS, and Symbian operating systems. The company says that while it is only selling to governments, it is only selling it to governments for the purposes of tracking criminals and terrorists. If we go back a little bit, Pegasus was originally installed on smartphones through vulnerabilities in commonly used apps or by spear phishing individuals, right? So very much like we just talked about in the unemployment insurance story, where those with unemployment receiving unemployment benefits are getting links sent to them via SMS that they are told to open up. That's phishing. Spear phishing, a little more tailored even in that, like very specific targets is what we're talking about. Pegasus can also be installed over a wireless transceiver located near the target or manually if a government agent can steal the target's phone and actually get the software loaded on it. And since 2019, Pegasus users have been able to install the software on smartphones with a missed call on WhatsApp and can even delete the record of the missed call, making it impossible for the owner of the phone to know anything had happened. And one final way is that they simply send a message to the user's phone that produces no notification. That's a lot of different attack surfaces. Now, who is Pegasus being used against? Well, some of the earliest reports say that it was being used all the way back in 2011 against El Chapo. I'm not sure, but okay, maybe. That's not to say that it wasn't. I just don't have the data to say yes or no. It looks like the tool was also used to track people close to those responsible for the murder of the Saudi journalist that happened not that far back in our past. So, not necessarily seemingly good people, right? However, there are some recent reports that have come out that state that there is a list from Pegasus, or a list that's been acquired or created based on Pegasus, of around 50,000 phone numbers. The list has been attributed to NSO Group. However, the origins of the list are unclear. So, until we have hard data confirming that it is from NSO, is it likely that the list at least has the potential, right, some caveats here, to not necessarily be genuinely accurate? Yeah, maybe. It doesn't mean that it's not, but just like a scientific report, you don't take just one report or one study of a thing, right? You would like multiple studies, peer review, et cetera, to make sure what you're looking at is really what the data says. So I'm not saying don't believe, I'm just saying don't fully believe, right? I think more data is actually needed. A media consortium, the Pegasus Project, analyzed the phone numbers on the list and identified over 1,000 people in 50 countries. The findings for these people who appear to fall outside of the NSO Group's restrictions include politicians, government workers, journalists, human rights activists, business executives, and the Arab royal family members. So if that's all true, that's really bad, right? But again, if the list isn't genuine, who knows who put some of that information on there? I'm not trying to dissuade you from what your belief is here. I'm just trying to offer a devil's advocate approach to it, right? Let's make sure that we know that this is a legitimate thing. And if it is, then it's very disturbing. If it's not, the software itself, I believe, is, let's go with troubling, possibly, maybe problematic if you want to put a couch on there, and could be abused, right? If the software was able to be compromised or extracted or stolen and repurposed and used by whoever wanted to, that would be horrific, right? So I'm not saying that this is 100% good or bad, but there's a lot of flags and warning lights here with Pegasus overall in its mere existence. And going back to Fable, once Pandora's box is opened, it really doesn't matter anymore. Why? Just something to think on as we close out this week. That's all for the news this week. I'm your professor of cyber risk. We'll talk again soon. If you like this podcast, share it with your colleagues and friends. Your support is how we are able to continue to make this content. Thank you.